For the politics of this, we go to our panel, attorney and former Georgia State Representative Ladawn Jones and conservative talk show host Andrea Kaye. Girl power, thank you ladies for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
I was told 100 newspapers organized to stand up against Trump in one day, hundreds of plus. Didn't hear much about it outside of those papers, so why so little coverage? Let me start with you, Andrea.
Well, I think it's so little coverage because didn't these 350-something newspapers all prove President Trump correct when he said that it's the fake news industry, by the way, that he's continued to call out, and that they are basically working as the opposition party. They're not operating as a free press in the way that our founders envisioned, which would be kind of like umpires or referees, as one person pointed out, using a great analogy. They're not supposed to be calling the shots for one team over another, and that's really how they've ended up being in recent times. And the American people know this, and that's one of the reasons why they elected President Trump in the first place. We all learned in 2016, for an example, thanks to WikiLeaks, about how different media outlets and different people had worked behind the scenes with the Hillary Clinton campaign, as well as the DNC and even the Obama administration, even to where there was even secret dinners. You know, the American people aren't fools. We understand that we do not have the free press like we should have, and we're proud of President Trump for calling him out.
Well, Andrea, that makes a good point, but you're in New York right now. You live in California. I'm here in D.C. Ladawn, you're in Atlanta, Georgia. Doesn't the lack of coverage today, the lack of action outside of the newspapers, we've seen a couple stories that we're talking about it because we talk about what's important, but doesn't this mean the general public doesn't really have much sympathy right now for the media? Even if they agree with what they're saying, they're not putting the eyeballs on it.
Well, I don't know if it's a lack of sympathy. We do know that media has changed with the invention of social media. People kind of stir what it is that the media will talk about. And I think when the story came out, everybody in America was like, duh. We already know what President Trump thinks about fake news, right? And it's almost like, why do you need to respond? It's almost like a grown man responding to a child who calls them girly pants. Who cares? We already know what Trump thinks about the news media. We also know that it is a responsibility of the media to continue to give us the stories. And I will say, I think America is a little bit tired of some of the back and forth. I do think that they have, although what they report may be true, some of the ways that they are reporting it is starting to get a little reality TV-like, and I think no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you get a little tired of it.
No, I think you're definitely right there, because I think, Ladawn, the problem with it is we don't know who to trust. We don't know exactly if they're giving us opinion or facts. And let me, going forward with this, when it goes into important news stories that are going to come out of this administration, should we just believe? How should the average viewer watch a network, watch a news media piece, and realize whether they're telling the truth or if they're really just opining and giving how they personally feel?
You know, I think right now many of us get our news from our phones, right? Our smartphones. It's incumbent upon us to start digging a little deeper, to start Googling a little more, researching a little further, and then also finding those sources that you truly find reputable, that you can trust, that you can always go to as a source. I will say that it makes it very hard to trust those sources whenever they come up with these unnamed sources. No matter what media source it is, as soon as they start putting out what seems like rumors, it becomes less reliable.
Absolutely. And Andrea, a few months ago, there was a lot of criticism that came from the media about Sinclair Broadcasting, how they had all of their people read the same script. Isn't it somewhat a little bit hypocritical today, what we're seeing, how they're organized, rewriting but reading basically the same script, that these were some of these same people months ago that were getting very angry at Sinclair Broadcasting?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know anybody that's a conservative that wasn't equally upset with that story and was kind of horrified for it, because the American people, and particularly conservatives, we value the original idea of the free press, as I talked about before, that would be, you know, the average American, we're busy, you know, we're raising families and doing our jobs, and we have been counting it as a country. The citizens have been putting their trust in the news outlets to do actual investigative reporting on both sides, to hold all elected officials accountable and then report the facts back to us, not their opinion. And I do think, I am grateful now, since we don't know who we can trust, like Ladawn said, that there's so much more opportunity for Americans now to not have to rely on one evening broadcast. We can do our own research. We've got enough opportunities available. Even if you don't have a smartphone, you can go to the library and get on the internet. The American people really became disturbed when what we saw with the left-leaning bias in this country country. And you can't say that there's not false reporting going on when recent studies show that 95% of stories on President Trump are negative. No matter what you think of him personally, that doesn't even make sense. There have been positive things to report about President Trump. And so 95% negative, we've got a problem in our media.
Well, guess what, Andrea? The good news is that both of you, I put a lot of faith and trust in both of what you're saying. So thank you for joining us tonight on that.
Thanks for having me.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.